When I consider the Old Testament scriptures, I can think of four big problems. In the Old Testament books we categorize as law, I see that man needs to fulfill God's moral law, both Gentiles with the general moral law and the nation of Israel with the specific Mosaic law. We need to fulfill God's moral law, yet we cannot on our own. Then in the books we categorize as historical, I see that Israel needs to secure their promised land, and yet they do not. They cannot on their own. And then in the wisdom books, I see that we need to overcome the grave. We have a mortality problem. So we have a moral problem, a military problem, a mortality problem. We cannot overcome the grave on our own. And in the books we categorize as prophetic, prophecy books, I see a problem that, number one, the Messiah is to come and reign forever, and yet he is going to come, suffer, and die. How can both take place? So I see four main problems in the Old Testament scriptures. And I see in the writings of the New Testament the witnesses and the associates of the witnesses of this man Jesus declare to us that the answer, the solution to these problems is found in Jesus, who is more than a mere man. He lived a perfect life, therefore solving the moral problem. And he's able, because of his death and resurrection, to impute his righteousness to us, to make us acceptable before God. So Jesus solves the moral problem, highlighted in the books of the law. Jesus, who is eternal God and all-powerful, can thus solve the military problem of Israel. Jesus, who conquered the grave, solves for us the mortal problem, the problem of mortality. And Jesus, ultimate plot twist in history at the cross, is going to come to earth twice. The first to suffer and die for sinners, the second to rule and reign with the redeemed. So he fulfills the messianic problem. Jesus is the solution to all the problems, I think, intentionally by God, highlighted in the Old Testament. He fits perfectly the description of the Savior that was predicted.